what we already have. This is where we are. We already have an 80+ year history underneath Muslim identity, not an extreme black identity that's always being put before our believers, before the public. We know as a follower and student of Imam Muhammad, how he gave light to the legacy of his father and the tradition of those pioneers. That they were, and he talked about his mother, how honorable she was. She was a believer. So it wasn't just about black and proud and being boastful about we need our own, separate, or that. It wasn't all that. It was about us trying to find our place in the society, being protected by the one who created all of us. So when you give that perspective to any human being, they can see the struggles a lot more better. So that's where we are, and we have that. So this is some suggestions and some recommendations that I'd like to share to show how we can take that into a reality, more of a reality. It is a reality. But like, as the sister said, when you go to environments and they find out you from this community, from that community, they want to know, how did you make it? They want to know more, because we're a very rare jewel. Imam Muhammad used to say, as you all know, that many people haven't been through so many transitions in the history of the development, and we've been through so many transitions in a short period of time. As I said, I met my Aunt Betty, but I don't remember too much of her. But she goes back to the late 1800s, early 1900s, and I'm sure she's been through several developments. So I titled this "A Planned Muslim Vision for the Community Today and the Community of the Future," and it's an open invitation. This is the spirit that we have in us, that we have to share with our general community and environment. That we have to invite them to provide their input to help guide their community life forward, using the inherent courage and inherent dignity to go forward behind the best aspirations. Now this language, as I'll go in and out, is in and out of our tradition with the Imam Muhammad, with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and with those pioneers among our diaspora coming up from slavery. I interchange a lot of those concepts. Imam Muhammad showed us that the model Muslim community should be based off of the principles of Medina Munawwara, the city of light. And most people, when they talk about Medina, very rarely, especially when I listen, that's what actually got me interested growing up into. My father always, like my children, they with me. My father didn't have us with him. He would have us in front. He would have us in front while he's out working. We'd be out sharing what we was taught and everything like that. But we didn't really know how to control that. You know, how what you say really affect. Words make people. It really does affect what you say. So I was honored to do a Jummah when I first got married, and brother said, now you're among the men, you know, you get married, so now you gotta, you know, do this and that. So when I spoke and I seen a sister take notes, and it hit me, everything came back to me. And I said, wow, what you say, because I don't know what she wrote, but she could take that, and that could enhance her life, or take I don't know, Allah knows best. So most people, when they talk about Medina, they rarely talk about the Constitution. How the Prophet upon him wasn't just invited to come and establish Islam and, you know, so forth and so on. They wanted him a part of their social order. They wanted him they wanted him and his companions and developers a part of their social behavior and destiny. And so I just took a little piece of that out, and I wanted to share that as encouragement for us, that though we have programs and goals for our personal selves, for our institutions and our organizations throughout the country, there are communities that we are in that are welcome, are waiting. They're waiting to welcome us on that level as well. That's right. For us to program their programs. That's right. To design their goals and for their cities. Yeah. Allah blessed us. We're in Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Newark, East Coast. Baltimore is wide open. And we go to these meetings, community meetings, because they say they can't do things without you knowing. It's just how they let you know. Right. So it's not that they don't let you know, it's just how they let you know. But every city in America, like you mentioned, said, this is our government, this is our nation, this is our community. So they have to consult us. But the I'm not gonna get into the scheme or anything, because my name is Mujahiddeen. So again, like Imam, he always talk about his name, right? So that's a burden on you when you when you're before people, because all that stuff come to you. And so in private, I look in my mind, I reflect on, I always, I don't purposely do it, but it always come like, oh, I can see the scheme, I can see the schemer, I can see the scheme, fight the scheme with the Deen. Like that's in my mind. I be rapping to myself. Fight the scheme with the Deen. So I want to share that with you. You fight the scheme with the Deen, right? You can't go at it direct. You fight the scheme with the Deen. So those people who try to mask the scheme for the common people, Allah gives us something to say or something to do that say, well, it just doesn't add up.
Right.
And so these community development meetings, before you can have any building, before it even goes to zoning, before it even goes to city planning, it has to be with some consent of the people that live in that area. So if we are in this area and we have the consent of the people, we're already ahead of no matter what else we want to do. We cannot be stopped from that perspective. And we know way up high, we have a leader and we have a history that the Imam said when they came to him, the big boys came to him, he said, just stay out of our way.
Right.
And we witnessed that. We didn't know Allah brings us stuff as we graduate, right? As we can handle more, He'll give you more. Right? When you solve small problems, He'll allow you to solve big problems.
Allahu Akbar.
Fight the scheme with the Deen.
Right.
So the big boys, they're out of our way.
Right.
And they'll help you, as He mentioned, they'll help you from places that you won't see them. So Allah has a scheme, man has a scheme, right? And Allah is the best of planners. So I do want to read this, and just be patient with me. It's very brief, if it comes up clearly. We'll read as much as we can read. The Constitution, this is of Medina, was created to end the bitter intertribal fighting between the rival clans of Bani Aus and Bani Khazraj in Medina, and to maintain peace and cooperation among all Medina groups. And the Quran calls them Ummah, calls the Bani Aus, the Bani Khazraj, the Jews, the Christians, he calls them one Ummah in Medina. Establishing the role of Muhammad as the mediating authority between the two groups and the others in Medina was central to the ending of Medinan internal violence and was an excellent feature of the Constitution. So we'll leave it there. So from that premise, we're actually given that we actually have access to this now. When you as the sister just said about mentoring. Now, if you go to a predominantly public school with African American dominated, not only do they don't have mentoring at school, at home, no mentoring. In their history, they don't even, when they go to church, they don't get access to the great bishops and great deacons in those churches. And those they if they go to church at all, they get, what image they put up, right? So this problem, and it causes a lot of violence. And this one thing that's really popular now in popular music is this whole concept or problem of suicide. And a lot of artists are being more conscious, and they're sharing how they themselves have went through suicide. They had suicidal tendencies, and they're given encouragement through their music so Allah is allowing them to use their personal situation to help others not go through that. So I encourage us that we are in the same situation. I don't know if y'all see this sign, but we're in our neighborhood and different places in the Northeast, we give these to different neighbors, and people who support you. You'll see this is for our community, our responsibility. And this I'm telling you guys, you brothers and sisters, will go a long way. Success, as I follow up right now, community success sessions. That's what I see the first Sunday. As I was researching the first Sundays, absolutely. As I was researching the first Sundays, just the titles alone is enough to have success in any type of community session. Just the language, especially our sisters. Our sisters not just beautiful outside; they're very internal in their expression. Sometimes we get a little excited and carried away. But the sisters, when they share something that's very simple, it goes a long way. And I'm honored to have my wife and my daughter, my wife and my sister. My wife keeps saying I keep calling my daughter my sister name because I remember my sister when she was young as my baby boy, 3. My father, out of all of us, she was the most protected. She used to be on his food truck. we was growing up, we had to go to Muhammad school. She didn't. She had the luxury to be on the food truck. So that's why Allah bless. She's actually a chef, certified chef and nutritionist. So alhamdulillah, obviously my father cooking worked out. Alhamdulillah, his birthday is tomorrow. May Allah bless him for 63rd birthday. The information and insight that we receive from these first Sunday sessions, I encourage us to attend a local meeting wherever you are, community meeting, and just share the sentiments, share the insights, and people will follow up with you. Ask you, where do you go? Where do you know? And then, well, we go to the Mosque. They're right over here, you know, every first Sunday. Come on out, and that's how Allah, inshallah, will increase our attendance. I'll skip that. Same thing about public participation. When those outside people come, there's a process. This is actually given in community economic development. This is like fundamental in doing any type of project outside of your things that you own. You have to engage the public, and the public is waiting on us. That's why we land right into share freedom space, because that's the edge. In Philadelphia and other major metropolises, they have something around shared. It could be shared prosperity, shared responsibility. It's something around even like the shared network, the carpool engine. All this is the time of sharing. Sharing is caring. And how are we going to fight the scheme?
With the Deen.
With the Deen. All right. Make sure you're still with me.
Go ahead. Man.
So whatever subhanAllah, the Quran says, whatever you shall spend in the cause of Allah shall be repaid unto you, and you shall not be treated unjustly. There's another quote that whenever you strive, Allah says, then strive together towards all that is good. Normally in the commentary you see it says in a race. So as I thought about that, you know, now race and racism is very potent. So when you speak anything on race, you can't just say, you know, even though some people they want you to be about your race. But if you get caught up in that, as we know, you know, you'll miss out on the human race. And we've been out of the human race for so long. Now we get in the human race, now we want to be out the race again. So fight the Deen, fight the scheme with the Deen. Because I'm telling you, these are the subtle tricks that they get out, and they got out young. You know, I'm right in the middle. I'm like stuck in the middle. Right? the mid 80s, early 80 baby. Right, pop culture, hip hop, that whole. Allah bless me not to get caught up in that wave, you know. So, and then I didn't get caught up in the money, you know, because some people they're not really in hip hop for culture, they're in it for money,
right?
You know, so justly balanced, and that's what we get into now about a balanced community, right? And we have to establish not just our individual families. I love what the sister said about the book, how you decide or you recommend for people who give gifts to your children, recommend a book or whatever it is. Some people just think because they're being nice, they could give your child whatever they want to give you. Well, if you are a balanced leader in your family and you have a system, you have your own system of government in your family, you don't allow anything to come into your children's hands and environment. That's right. Whether it be virtually or in physical. So whenever a believer, the Prophet Muhammad said, and this comes from the Mosque, one of the older brochures I had, where the Imam talked about building and establishing a model Muslim community in America. It was 3 quotes in there, and I wanted to share them. The Prophet Muhammad said, whenever a believer endeavors to do a thing, he seeks to perfect it.
Absolutely.
Now, we know it. But you want to really know it is when you can show it to other people. You don't have to say it. And the people be telling, what makes you do that? This is how the Prophet Muhammad, when they expand after Medina, when they expand to these other communities, they want to know why, how. They didn't really say too much because first of all, they couldn't even speak the same language. You know, so a lot of them was just witnessing their behavior. Yes, sir. And then they would inquire and learn like that. So, Imam Muhammad says, we should work for the distant future and not just for today or the weekend. This will make our work more effective and long-lasting, and will make our work have more substance now and later. And we all bear witness to that. And though you don't, because in Northeast there's a lot of pioneers, a lot of Muslim elders, and they don't see their children around, and they wonder, was all this for them not to be here? They never think that. The believer knows that I'm telling you, as a son of your community, of our community, as much as I have advanced, I could advance a lot more if I wasn't conscious of my obligation to my womb, the womb that bore me. You know, because they love this. You know, they love this energy. They want you to be a politician. They want you to be they love that, and they're coming after our young sisters and our young brothers, and they're giving just, you can see it. Allah has it so that by fighting the scheme with the Deen, you see in entertainment and in sports how they manipulate the young, right? And they give you a watch, they give you a car, they give you access to a party house for the weekend. And I'm just trying to play basketball. I'm trying to learn. But then they're conditioning their mind so that when they get them big bucks, you got to check in, right? So they got our young people. They don't know that whole scheme, but they know the Deen. So they get caught up and they say, "Well, the Deen is not relevant. My parents don't know." You know, you know, because some of you all came from that. Allah allowed you all. I know my father did. He said he could have been a top all-star basketball player. You know, he went home from Rutgers one summer, got with his uncles. Uncle was younger than him, but he's his uncle, and he schooled him to Elijah Muhammad. And he came to the temple. From there on, he ain't been back to school. He had several businesses. Now my sister's, she has her 2 degrees. My brother has his degrees. My aunt, they're doctors. Well, she's an education doctor, and she's a marathoner, and my mother's a marathoner. So that's what community life is. Community life is a marathon. It's not the short sprint.
That's right. That's right.
So that brings us to, and we're winding down. I get excited just listening, and then when I have to talk, it's like, okay, well,
go ahead.
I gotta calm down. I gotta calm down. So we'll skip this because as always. We always reverence the salat. That's number one. Hayya salat. And in fact, the Prophet Muhammad said that there was never a nation that fall until he left off prayer, until he left off salat. So we don't leave off salat. Salat is very important. But Allah also says there's a balance. There's falah. Falah means cultivate, right? So don't soup me up. I'm just thinking I'm gonna get it from this. I gotta open these hands up and use and cultivate the environment. There's some Quranic verses, and I want to. I submitted to the Mosque kids. I would even like to even have like a committee. We could actually like develop like a textbook, a community development textbook. Because when you go to these community meetings, there's always a fraternity, a sorority, some non-profit organization. They're trying to pull you into their camp.
That's right.
And they give you their strategies for applying community development. Who better to establish community development than from our legacy of community development, right? Yeah. So I think we should do that. And another thing that even makes it more prevalent that we have to do that is that because in business they're actually modeling. Network model is modeled off of the fruit of Islam. That's right. Quiet as kept. I got frustrated with my father one day. He invited me. Well, I didn't get invited. I was always with my father. So he got invited. Some other brothers in New York. I didn't know what the meeting was, you know. And it was a one and another. I'm not going to say the race because we're all one. But there was the left and the right. And they was asking questions to them about, you know, what made y'all so devoted to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? What was it that had y'all outstanding in all degree weather selling fish, selling this, selling that? They were trying to find out what are these human principles that the underserved man would do to another man who just gave him a vision, a period of vision. Elijah Muhammad had way more than a vision, right? So they were trying to piecemeal my father and his associates trying to get. So they peeped it. I didn't know what was going on. I know this now because I've been in the settings too. But at that time, I'm just like, you know. So every time we go to meet, we bring a bean pot, right? So they got we thought the meeting was over. They start eating the pie. They start talking about the pie. They're like, how can we get this? You know, because now in business now, because of all the fight for the civil rights of our My grandmother, she went through that. She was part of the sit-down movement. Those who fought for our civil rights, they have to give minority African American a percentage of corporate and government business. Up to 16, sometimes 35, sometimes 55%, depending on the population of the people.
Yeah.
So they come to us telling us, well, we could get this pie up and down the East Coast, 16% all running numbers, and my father's like, well, who's going to produce it? He said, no, don't worry about that. We'll take care of this. So my father, I'm like, yo, let's get the money, you know, in my mind, little mind, right? I'm like, they said we could do this, get the money, then we maybe do our own thing. My father told me after, he said, anytime you give up production, you give up your product. When you give up your product, you give up your potential and your future. So to this day, we have our own product, and we ain't giving it up. We'd rather give it up to you all, and we develop a manufacturing plant, and we create jobs, and we create industry for our people.
That's right.
Because Allah has blessed us with that. So that leads us to this quote. This is actually a theory, and it's called the tragedy of the commons. At first, I liked it. As I thought about it, I said, well, I'll see. Let's see what you all think. I was going to take questions, but we might not have time for questions, so if you all want to interject anytime, I'm cool with that. So, tragedy of the commons. They saying that optimizing for the self in the short term isn't optimal for anyone in the long term. So it's and they gave an example of how if you have 5 people going to a water and there are 5 fish and each 10 fish and they produce a fish a day. So every day they're going to get a new increase of fish. If everybody come, how much should everybody get? And they gave the whole problem. And they said for the best optimal use of the lake, to get the benefit of the lake, everybody should get 1 fish. They said, well, what if somebody have taken 5 fish because the other person only wanted 1 fish? They said it wouldn't be beneficial for everybody, even though he didn't need the 5 and I didn't want the 5, for him to take 5. So they said that when you do that, you lose the common good, right? But I thought about our logic from the Quran, assuming the life tradition of the Prophet, and then we have our history here in America, that we have an enlightened self-interest, and we have an obligation of charity, of giving. So even if the person take 5, he has an obligation to give what he doesn't, or whatever. If I come up short and it ain't no more, you have an obligation to assist me. So at first I was like, oh yeah, that's nice. Everybody should just get the same amount. But Allah doesn't allow that. Allah allows, He said He blesses you among degrees. So we're gonna have some millionaires and billionaires. We're gonna have some struggling. But if we're one community, we should adjust accordingly.
That's right. That's right.
So that brings us to the model community. It's about balance. It's all about balance. In our tradition of Safa and Marwa, there's a balance. The Prophet said that after they migrate, no more migration. Taqwa wa jihad. Be reverence of God and struggle. When we plan, we don't just want to get caught up in planning, we actually want to implement these plans. So there's a balance. And then we have the group, and then we have individual. There's a balance. And there's an old African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So, life in America. When I was confirmed to do this, I switched my profile, and they put the flag. I had the flag, and this actually was a big flag. It was a public auction. They trade, and my father-in-law went there. He's looking for a car, and this flag was huge. I said, I got to take a picture of this flag. So I took a picture of the flag, and this big old thing about the flag, right? So we could say a lot about it. We could get into that controversy, but the best thing to show that I did for myself was look at what was our history with the flag. We know what it was when it was 13 colonies. When it was, so forth and so on, those expansions. Even the flag has changed. There's a whole museum of flags.
Yeah.
It wasn't always 50 stars and 13 stripes. It wasn't always that. So there's more to it than just a flag. In fact, they don't even call it a flag. They call it a banner, right? And the banner has principles. And you can't put down if you put down the banner, that's okay. But if you put down the principles, that's not okay, right? So sometimes these trends, people want to get involved. They just do whatever everybody else is doing. And that's where our courage comes in, our moral courage that we inherit. This is inherent in our community. That we have moral courage not to be in opposition to our fellow African American community, but to show our disposition, because the Quran never, I can't say never because I'm not a Hafiz yet, but the Quran, and studying the Quran, you don't see where Allah puts down anyone, where He doesn't give them a chance to come up, or He doesn't give them ability to get out of what they got into. You know, so if we take a position of just hurt, pain, then you're not even going to, as in Jonah. That's why that's not why I named my second son Yunus. But I learned in that period of my life that you could go through all this struggle, and you caught up on the struggle, and you caught up on the hardship and the pain, and you forget things change. And you're going through something, and something changed, and you still on something that is not even happening no more. You know what I mean? So this is the same thing with the condition of our people. So that brings us to New Africa, and we'll settle it down there. New Africa. New Africa is about the whole life. So just as I said, about the highest existence of life, and the purpose is community life. It's the whole life. So the sister's talking about the whole child. In order to, and it says, to raise a child, you need a village. You need the whole life, the whole environment. And they break it up so it make it seem like you can't achieve it.
That's right.
When you go to school, they got 150 different courses that you could get a certificate in and get a degree and go work for someone, right? And you think, how are we going to have a community when you got 150 courses, you need 100-something degrees, you can establish, as the sister showed, a tiny house community. You can do that. We can do that. There's land I saw that you can get land and you can establish a tiny house community and have a shared restroom and shared eating hall. This is where the handicap comes in when you're dealing with the municipality, because they have their way of purifying the water. That's the good thing of having the government that we in, because you can't just hot wire everything and make everything like how you want it, and somebody could get hurt. So there are codes and zoning restrictions. So, but you get by that by having shared, by having collective, until you get more established. Then we can go to, I saw the property over there, a 300-bedroom hotel. You can go to that and establish little housing, temporary housing, until people get off into their career. So this is talking about, and this is actually from Savior's Day, 1975. The man came into office. Our dear brother Jesse Jackson said that self-power is greater than economic and political power. If you have self-power, you can get economic power. Now he was bear witness, of course, when the man came in, there was a whole lot of people bear witness to that, right? But the man actually, he fulfilled that. He fulfilled that if we stick to our moral principles, our human characteristics, we don't have to trick people into making money. I mean, money is just a means anyway. As the brothers mentioned about the digital currency is about to have access now to Bitcoins. We're going to see how people have been running this world digitally. That's what the environment we're in. Everything's becoming transparent. So when people talk about our president and all this and that, the president of the United States, we don't get into the character we don't get into all that. We should not get into all this character assassination. These are just distractions. Because the time period that we're in is just showing that everything is transparent. People have been talking like that. Behind this. I mean, people still talk like that today. And the prophet said, you get the leader you deserve. So if you're in a nation that has a president that's like that's going to the least among us. That's not us. That ain't us. So what are we going to do? As the Quran says, we have to be a model for the people, as the prophet was a model to us.
That's right.
So this is what Khalifa means. This is what Sharia, this is what these terms that the media try to use, that strategy they try to use to confuse the masses of people. Can't think that they don't think there's an element in society, in the Quran, it's in scripture, that they do not trust the human being. They don't feel that the human being can be self-sufficient. We don't believe he can be self-sufficient until he obeys Allah. So we believe that we don't trust the human being either until they submit to Allah. We don't submit to people unless they submit to Allah. We believe in Allah. We believe in the life example of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And so, and there's many ways to say that in meetings. There's many ways to say that in action, right? So as I just said, New Africa incorporates the whole life, and it's a new start for us here with a new mind. Isn't this a new mind, a new spirit? Doesn't this bring about a new ethos, a new ethics? That when people come in your environment, they're not going to act the same. They might be the craziest person on the block. If they came and sat here, they're not going to act like that on the block. Because they know we got our brothers here, but also they respect the respect that we're giving to them. And that's all they want. That's all our people want. They just want respect, right? So, it's being conscious of what we need as a community and acting on that need. So I love this environment, because this environment is a model. This model, we can invite people to this model, but we also can transport this model. The president, the Mosque and